欢迎回来，您现在收看的是正在直播的2017风暴英雄世界锦标赛东区决赛败者组第2轮第2场的比赛。今天的比赛对于双方来说十分重要，他们就是来自中国赛区的 eStar 以及 Zero。接下来让我们有请 eStar Zero。 这两支作为在中国数一数二的顶尖战队，终究是要在此刻分出一个高下。希望胜利的一方能够带着另一方的信念继续战斗下去。让我们来期待他们的精彩对决。
eStar and Zero will finish the day out for us today as day number 2 will conclude, and we'll find out who will be gearing up for the semis and the finals for tomorrow. My name is Trixler, and I'm joined by our friendly neighborhood Jay-How. Jay-How, how you feeling this late into the evening?
I feel great. You know, I feel much better day number 2 going in here. We saw some pretty crazy action so far. Yesterday, a bunch of 2-0s. Today, different story. And man, I'm hoping the trend continues here.
I think I agree with you. I am a little bit sad here that we're going to have to see eStar and Zero beat each other out. Obviously, both coming from the Chinese region. Both are teams that I want to see clash more with Korea. I feel like Zero had the unfortunate underhand when they faced off against Tempest and sadly lost 2-0. Because still, I talk about it over and over again. In my mind, they could have won that series 2-0. But then you look at eStar, and they were up 2-0 to MVP. Imagine if that was a best-of-3 series.
If that was a best-of-3 series, this would be a much different story, and MVP Black would be having a bunch of big question marks, but instead, eStar has to find their way back. As you said, one of these teams is done after this series, but eStar, the potential is there, but will that series affect them? I mean, think about it. One team hasn't played since yesterday. The other team just had a devastating series just a few hours ago.
Yeah, a grueling best-of-5 series where they move into game number 3 having full momentum. Suddenly they pick a chin. It doesn't work out for them, and they just fall behind slowly but surely, and MVP Black makes a comeback. That takes the wind out of your sails. However, this is a matchup that they are pretty accustomed to. eStar and Zero, they face off all the time in the Chinese region. In fact, eStar was the one that won the Gold League a couple months ago over Zero.
Yeah, and you know, you talk about that in particular is that it's China versus China, where China so far to this tournament has been bringing their own flavor, their own meta. They're like, look, we haven't been seen publicly in a few months because, you know, we finished a little bit earlier than some of the other regions. They come out, we've seen so many Zagara picks, we've seen Valera, we've seen Illidan, we've seen Chen, we've seen anything you name it. They're not afraid to bring it out.
So I question you, Jay-How, as we get ready for our first battleground before we fully go into draft. Who do you want to walk away from this matchup as the full representative for China to face off against the Koreans?
It's almost like I got to play favorites in this point, but I really feel like eStar has the potential, not only because I think they're the better team in this series, but I think that they could potentially be one of the better teams, you know, when it comes, if they can make it to that top 4. And so I would love to see eStar take that step, but if Zero Panda is able to take down eStar, then they're a very deserved representative, and I think that that goes to show that their potential is also on that same level.
Yeah, and I look at Zero, and while I am impressed with their 2 members that are filling in for this roster, both Tao and GD, I do think that that could be a problem as you go to the final stages of this tournament, and I think eStar would be more well-equipped. But we'll see how this will all shake out as we are moving into Dragonshire. This seems to be a favorite for the Chinese players, as it is our first battleground here to be mixed up. Watch out for that global play. We've already talked about it. Typically, you see a Dahaka ban, you leave the fall stat up. We'll see what eStar plans to do here.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we saw them do in particular. Zero Panda, they love to do the exact same thing. We have seen so much Zeratul play, and it's a basically high-risk, high-reward hero all the time, although it looks like they might be shifting gears. We also saw some weird targeted bans when it comes to ranged assassins, so maybe we'll see something similar. Gul'dan being hovered right now, but I think global definitely will have high priority. It's just a matter of, are you willing to give up Tassadar in that case? Things like that. So they're just gonna rotate through like the entire meta. It's like, all right, you know, first, then we'll go Gul'dan, we'll go Zarya.
Yep, you cannot forget about the strength of Morales, Zarya. The first time we saw Zero run on this battleground, it was against Tempest. They elected to take Falstad and Dahaka. However, this time that potentially will not be the possibility here. Now, with Zarya being banned out, Zero is in a weird spot. Do you ban out the Tassadar? Do you ban out someone else and maybe leave it up? They decide to ban out Tassadar, allowing eStar to grab what they would like to get here.
Yeah, and you know, when you leave that open, a lot of times, if you opt to go global first, that's fine. If you give it up, a lot of teams are a little bit hesitant to go Dahaka Falstad. We have seen it before. So you can kind of pick that up in second rotation. Maybe you opt for something like Malfurion. Maybe you like the ETC. You can kind of make a power play here on the first side for eStar, and we'll see what they opt to go with. They're definitely taking their time, which they took their time on their ban. Now they're taking their time on the first pick. They're either discussing strategies long-term draft-wise, or they're not sure yet.
There's a lot of options here. I think you go with ETC if you want to get the aggressive play. You also have the pickup of Malfurion, but China seems to prefer Morales a little bit more. Malfurion has been selected. Now, Zero, last time they snap picked Falstad into Dahaka. Will there be a repeat, or do we see them grab ETC? Typically, ETC is not available as long going into this stage of the draft, as usually he's one of the bans picked up, with Zarya being taken off the table instead. They do have this weird adjustment they have to make.
Well, I talked about it's not as common to see the double global first. The one team to do it yesterday was Zero Panda on this battleground in particular. It didn't work out for them though. So again, somebody like Ragnaros might be something you opt for. It depends. You generally have those 3 strong solo laners. ETC is going to be the pickup. Are we going to see global, or are we going to see that focus on support? Ragnaros, it's just, you got options.
Yeah, I think you move into ETC Falstad here if you're Zero. The Falstad play was actually much more stellar compared to the rest of the Chinese representatives that I've seen play Falstad so far. Melody just seems to be on point. Instead, they move into Dahaka, though. So we'll have ETC for engage, we'll have Dahaka for flanks. Hopefully, that will pay off here for Zero.
I think the scary thing that you think about Murd, and we've seen pretty dominant in this tournament so far, is that Zeratul. We saw the fear of Zeratul. They might look to ban it out the second go-round. Having somebody like Dahaka over something like Zeratul, you know, Dahaka can sometimes survive a little bit better if you have those attempted ganks. As we see, there is the Falstad pickup. So matching globals now on both teams.
So now you start thinking about the second portion of your draft. I think we need to get GD on Vala. GD has been an absolute beast on that character. He has played incredibly aggressive. The one main problem here is there isn't really an empower available that we normally see. Usually we have a support by now set up, but Zero only having 2 selections on top and being super warrior heavy does that make that a bit more difficult. And there's always the risk of Ariel being banned out, or of course a hero that does empower well with Vala. So Zero needs to be thinking about that. They want to pinch out their opponent on an important hero, but make sure they don't deal with anything that forces them not to get Vala.
The Ragnaros ban, I like Ragnaros. Obviously, it does really well to defend against the DK. I think we might be going back to maybe one of the heroes that they hovered during the first part. It could be looking for a Gul'dan ban, maybe targeting some of that. I think Zeratul would be the appropriate call. If you're Falstad in that top lane, you have that Vorpal Blade from the very first get-go, and then you hit level 7, things really get scary. And Falstad, that is very difficult for him to deal with if you have that Zeratul to rotate up again. Although they're looking at Tychus. All of a sudden, we didn't see Tychus, and what happened today, Trixler? Tychus is just back.
I mean, he's still strong against double warriors. He's one of those that he can bring in the aggression. He can be quite manipulating, but it's something that someone would like to play if given the possibility. However, you got to think about Gul'dan, of course, as a right selection at some point, as we have seen that from Zero in the past.
Well, it is now time for the second phase. We'll see exactly how this goes. They've already locked down their front line. You know, Rhaegar's going to be there, Ariel's going to be there. We talked about both of those. You know, the world is your oyster right now. You can kind of play safe right now. And when you look at draft strategies, you have that last pick. You can pick up your support here, play something a little bit more conservative, and then pick up your X Factor, unless you're going Zeratul and you want to make sure and grab something for yourself about that right now.
I wouldn't mind seeing Gul'dan and Morales for them. I think they've ran a solid Gul'dan. I think you need the cleanse. Ooh, they go into Lucio and Greymane though. Wow, this is a bit new for Zero. So some slight adjustments in their draft. Lucio can have a hard time dealing with the Murd and lockdown, but there isn't quite a lot of burst yet for eStar, so we should be seeing some pretty soon from them.
All right, now when you are eStar, you've got your solo laner. Now you have to start looking towards that sustainability. Now you know you're going up against ETC Dahaka. I don't think Zeratul is going to be a huge threat because there's not a whole lot of follow-up to things like that, especially with Greymane Lucio. So having to go something like Tyrael for that added protection, it might be a safe option if you want to engage. You don't necessarily have to use that as the defensive option if you're looking to solidify that front line. But pairing something up with Muradin, you don't necessarily have to. You know, we've seen them, I believe, go into Thrall previously. That might be an option for them. You don't necessarily need that with your solo laner in case unless you decide to pick him and leave Falstad in your format.
Can leave Falstad in the top lane. He will be pushed in, but he can't sustain from there. There's Leeming and Murky? Murky? Is that correct, Jay? How am I seeing this correctly?
Yes, and I don't know why or how or what or anything. I actually just... Okay, here's the thing about Murky. So if Murky is your solo laner against Dahaka, you've already lost that lane.
Sure.
So is Murky kind of that mid lane rotation to help get picks, slow people, annoy people? Because as a solo laner as Dahaka, it's absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible because it now his pufferfish now takes ability damage. Dahaka, he uses his Dark Swarm, clears that out. His W, very short cooldown, clears that out, and that pufferfish doesn't get great value. If you opt in, depending on what talent you pick at level 1, whether it is that bribe style talent, it's just not really conducive to the solo laner. So you got to find ways to make Murky fit. It could be that mid lane rotation to where you can kind of rotate between top, bottom, and disrupt things. But things are getting weird here.
Things have gotten weird, and I like it. I'm a fan of weird here, especially as we get into the later stages of North American time zones, and it's getting super late for us. Let's just go full all in. So, Murky, you brought up the point of, okay, do we want him in the 4-man rotation? I think yes. You don't put him against Dahaka. He gets bodied out. It's probably one of the worst matchups that he has now. Maybe old Murky would have been fine because old Pufferfish required auto attacks. Dahaka has a slow auto attack. You can read him. You're good to go. But he definitely gets annihilated there. With a Muradin being on this team, you can put enough pressure on the opposing team when you're going for the 4-man rotations to where you can build up those bribe stacks. And if you get early giant pressure in the early game, you can get sustained through. I like the Sylvanas pickup to be able to handle those waves and those mercs that could be coming their way.
The Sylvanas pickup, I think, actually works. Generally, you tend to stay away from it, especially on a battleground like this. Yeah, her team fight isn't there, and you rely on a lot of Greymane. And Greymane, once he goes in, if he doesn't get that burst damage, that quick kill, then you got to wonder. The good thing for him is if you go in, you have Lucio that can bring you those big shields when you choose to engage. You can hit that wailing arrow on the back line to really make sure that you don't hit that, you don't have that Twilight Dream potentially coming back at you. So you have really good engage potential. You got to make sure that you get back out. And I think they can do that with Lucio, and then Sylvanas has her escape mechanisms as well. So there's a lot of potential, I think, team fighting for there. The Murky pick is going to be questionable on how they use that. Again, we already went over on how it doesn't work against Dahaka, so you have to find ways between that mid and bottom lane. This is going to be very interesting.
Let's talk more about Murky. Just again, because again, he got a lot of changes lately. So he used to have a pseudo power spike at level 7 called Slime Advantage. That no longer exists anymore. So now you are banking on getting a late game with new Murky. You get your slime talent set up. You get your level 16 where you're able to pop out the slimes as well. You get time to krill so you can slow down opponents. You're banking on a March of the Murlocs connecting before Lucio can boost out your entire team, which is really scary. Picking Murky into Lucio, you have Boop 1 to interrupt. Anytime the March of the Murlocs goes down, you also have the ability to say, okay, well, let's pop up our speed and just run away from this entire fight. However, if a March of the Murlocs does connect, you get to late game, you have Big Kahuna Tuna, you can pretty much force someone to die, and the opposing team has to decide, okay, do we want to engage on this and try to win the team fight, or do we just give up a member? That's how strong Murky can be in the late game. The question is, how do you get there? Luckily, it's Dragonshire. This is a battleground that can get to the late game.
It definitely does get to the late game. The thing you got to look out for is Sylvanas can really help the DK push, and you don't necessarily have that return damage to poke away, and a lot of times you rely on that structure damage. With Sylvanas, she shuts down those structures, so the DK could be powerful. Early DKs, though, if you can split it off, Sylvanas can rotate down. You actually get more value out of Sylvanas without the DK early. Later game, you get more.
Yeah, the pressure that she can apply on a different lane is fantastic. I will say March of the Murlocs for defense can be great when a dragon comes its way because it does jump on top of the vehicle, and it also does move towards the back line, which does spread them out. But yes, there is a big question here of Murky, and I agree, man. It's exciting to see, and I want to see how exactly eStar of all teams. I was over here slightly towards Zero because I'm a fan of their play. They're hyper-aggressive. I like how they brought this team together with 2 players that normally wasn't even on the roster. But eStar has just bought my heart and more here with the Murky pick.
Let's hope that they didn't bite off more than they can chew. Big Kahuna Tuna. I mean,
that's it.
Could he have the most fun talent names? I mean, I'm just waiting for one of the players when we did the look there, for one of them to raise the eyebrow at me, a la Dunk style. I didn't get it. Almost. I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but I would have gone for an eyebrow raise.
Maybe they're gonna do it afterwards. You gotta get the win first, you know. So we'll have to see how this Murky will pay out on Dragonshire of all Battleground. This is a best-of-5 series. eStar taking on Zero.
大家好，我是来自 Zero 战队的 M。
大家好，我是 Zero 战队的6.6，就可能变化比较大一点吧，因为不是原班人马了嘛。一起磨合也没多久，也就1个月不到，整体实力还是虽然比以前是差一点，但是还是可以的。
我们训练赛的话，输赢参半吧，然后但是我们的队伍氛围特别好。
也是参考外国的比赛吧，就韩国一些什么比赛什么，等于也像是模仿吧。
希望有一支中国队就是能够赢一次韩国队，在比分上胜利，然后有一支中国队能走到最后一天。
J-How, I'm gonna need your assistance. 1, I'm gonna need you to introduce this team to the left, and 2, if I talk about Murky too much, you gotta shush me up, man.
Well, you can see Tiger is going to be there on Falstad. We're getting an up-close and personal look, as that is Savage, a.k.a. X. It's going to be on Murky as the rest of the team. You know, let's just take it over to Zero. We'll get more into that. Murky taking all the attention.
To the far right, Zero will be in the red. Lucio bouncing around there as Tao will be showing off his support play. He's been doing it all weekend, and he has been here for this team. 6 will lead the charge to the front. Now, the pick here at level 1 is actually going to be the fake eggs for our Murky.
Could they be the best looking eggs in the game? I think so. Probably the only eggs. Look at that. Just plop it down there. Look at this. A little bit of early Sylvanas push. You couple that with Greymane. Good thing is you have the flight up, although Melody C.
He actually put his real egg in the front because the fake egg is the one with the Murky dirt face.
The weird face, yeah.
Yeah, and so he throws the real egg in the lane. Now, one of the great things about the fake eggs is that you actually can use them for control in terms of vision. They do provide that vision, so setting it in the middle lane does prevent you from having to deal with the pressure coming your way from the opposing team. We're going to have some pressure on Li Ming in the bottom, left at 6 and goes in for the aggressive play, but it will not pay off.
Okay, so we talked about Murky's struggles in that solo lane. It looks like Murky's going to be up there with maybe a possible rotation. Tiger having a barrel roll out of there. He should be just fine. But that top lane, I'm really worried about that. I think they're going to have to commit a lot of resources, namely Falstad. You know, you can abuse that global. Maybe you have some cool rotations lined up. But this is going to be a really weird game. It's Murky. Does that even count as first blood?
It does. It counts as half blood. A little bit of a prick of blood on the fingernail. Get some DNA there. But Malfurion, that is definitely some more blood there. So he'll be picked off by Zero with the aggressive play in the bottom lane. A 4-man rotation as Melody attempts to push in with that Sylvanas. Now, Murky will continue to dance back and forth, and this is where he has a really hard time, is when that Primal Aggression jumps on top of him. He is using the Exo as a way to get double slimes in those fights. Maybe he's brought out a new clever way to play against Ahaka.
Yeah, maybe we just don't know about this new Murky. We haven't really seen Murky. Murky does not really show up on global stages, but we talked about the struggles of controlling that lane. We have a 1 minute and 50 second DK, and that seemed a little too easy.
That's where the struggles really pay off for Zero, as they'll be able to push in. They're actually moving straight to the top lane here to put their pressure onto Murky. Murky does not deal with pressure well at all, as he will
Doesn't deal with a DK foot to the face either.
Yeah, and they actually killed the relay too that was sitting near the wall, so Murky's actually dead for the full duration. They'll have to spawn back home, and eStar just says, okay, well, that fort is potentially going to take damage, and we're kind of okay with that. They'll just throw Murden up there to be the defense, but he doesn't really bring in that DPS that you normally want to deter the Dragon from doing much damage here well.
Trick, we are already looking at a 1-level lead. Murky, as you said, didn't have his egg properly positioned. We talked about the split push. So Sylvanas is down to the bottom, which means that you have to commit resources down there. Malfurion and Li Ming were down there just to defend that bottom lane. The DK, that is a lot of value for a very early DK. I mean, that was 1 minute and 50 seconds when they picked that up.
Yeah, getting a well and some turret or fort damage is a solid trade for you, especially when you're able to take Giants afterwards. Grabbing these Giants on the right side allows for Zero to continue their pressure on the bottom, which means no resources can be really afforded for eStar to rotate to the top to help out the Dahaka that can just push in constantly with the aggressive play. Murden has actually started Knights by himself on the left side and will be getting help from Falstad, but this has become a control of the battleground in terms of Merc pressure for our teams.
Yeah, and you actually talked about this in the draft, is that you can deal with those Siege Giants a lot easier if you're Sylvanas, and then you can possibly get more value out of your own. So we have a full minion wave as H is getting power slid on, and Doba, nice little poop there, but not enough damage. But it's as you said, it's sometimes all about that battleground control, and right now it's firmly in favor of Zero.
eStar is hoping to hold on for now. Getting to level 10 will be important for them if they ever get that March of the Murlocs or even a strong Mighty Gus. Li Ming can really get those resets and start bringing down the fights. Now, at level 4, we did get the Slime quest here for Murky. If he's able to finish up a number of Qs, he's able to get his damage amplified. And we also have the Q talent at level 7. Usually you see time to Krill, but eStar all about just trying to stay alive and be annoying. Potentially, we're going to see later on at level 13 the heal on Murky.
Just getting out of there is Murden with the Dwarf Toss, but Tiger in all kinds of trouble as well. GD is able to be aggressive without having to worry too much. Li Ming now at least has Calamity at level 7, but the minute they rotate up and find any type of advantage, Sylvanas locks it down. Structures, while it's not like a Sky Temple to where it's your lifeline, of course it is in every single battleground, but the DK value becomes more and more. Tau?
Okay, the Calamity comes in, another reset, and suddenly 3 instant kills here. eStar coming in with the big rotation and putting themselves back in the board there. They needed that moment, because so far they were getting bullied.
There's nothing better than a good Li Ming reset. And Trick, there's nothing better than a couple of Li Ming resets, as she just was like, watch me teleport in. That Calamity did a lot of damage there. Both are being channeled here. 6, though, it looks like they might have SW caught out, who's very low, but the return damage, somebody's going down here, and that is ETC, and next up will be M. He's not going to make it out alive, and just like that, eStar took the lead.
Yeah, they're about to hit level 10. They have a Dragon potentially up for grab. Murky grab that top lane, and so now we are going to have H move in here and grab the Dragon, but so far Xing Chen is just completely dominating on this Li Ming. What do they grab at level 10 here? I believe they're actually waiting for the mosh pit to be picked up, because then we of course will be instant snap pick, but if we do have a stage dive, they can afford to go Disintegrate, which will be great.
I got it. I got it.
Let's hear it.
No,
Octograb?
No cleanse. Octograb is the ultimate key to this game.
The problem with Octograb is if you
There's no problem, Trickster.
Okay.
Please, no, go ahead.
All right, then. Yes, there is no cleanse, but Lucio can drop a sound barrier, and there's going to be no major blow-up unless Li Ming follows up instantly with the W into the Q, so communication has to be on point. Greymane can jump in with a Dark Flight and burn down Murky instantly, which frees away the Octograb, because Octograb doesn't persist anymore after using it if Murky falls victim to death. Now, this is not a big deal later on with some talents that can be grabbed. You can get the shield at level 13 instead of the heal that I was talking about earlier, and I think the shield is the way to go. And then when you get Big Kahuna Tuna at level 20, you have a full 3-second lockdown because of that Octograb. So it is a late game pick, but it is very hard to pull off, and it's very late game oriented. Big Mighty Gus into knockback. Sylvanas gets focused down. Li Ming going off, but she's gonna get picked off here at the same time. Brush Sucker, though, coming in here from Dahaka. Zero's looking for their own fight. GD thrown across the map.
He's going down, and M just trying to find his way out. He does have that Dark Swarm that allows him to move through, but he doesn't have enough health to maintain. And 6 with that large knockback is going to be the only one that walks away from that fight. But that mighty gust into the Twilight Dream. eStar on point. And guess what, Trixler? When you're left alone,
just murky things. You keep pushing all day, dropping your Qs, taking forts. He's even throwing down the fake eggs to get additional slimes on those minion waves so he can clear them quicker. Now, 13, what are we getting from Murky? I'm so excited to see this man. HGC, getting to see these talents here. He's going to go ahead and grab the heal at 13, which is great with the Kahuna Tuna. But that does mean it will still be very difficult for him to get a full auto-grab duration off. And I think eStar has just set themselves up for that late game.
I think they're setting themselves up for their late game. But as our friend Kalaris was saying, Xingzi popping off. Shout-outs to him. Hello, Kalaris. We miss you, buddy.
I miss you, Kalaris, you and your beautiful red hair. I'm going to go too far on the bromance there, but I do miss him. You're good enough, though, JL. You're good enough.
I'll head to the store afterwards, get some red hair dye, and I'll work on the accent overnight.
Oh, the auto grab on Dahaka here. Now, theoretically, if you do drop the puffer fish and you wait half a beat and you go into the auto grab, Dahaka doesn't have a chance to actually burrow, so you can get damage on him. And you still have the chunk that occurred there. So in one-on-one scenarios, Murky can do well, especially if you understand the timings. Big sound barrier in the middle of the map, though. Here comes H jumping in with the Stormbolt. GD is going to get pushed away. I think that gust wasn't quite worth it. However, Greymane did get pretty threatening there on the Lei Ming.
It's just amazing how much this has opened up ever since that fight mid. I mean, we're looking at 9 kills to 2, a 2-level lead. Murky all of a sudden becomes this dominant factor that's completely controlling that top lane. But in the backside, you've got the roots to meet them. The power slide over, not a lot of team there, but Tiger has joined the fight.
GD in the back right, getting focused down, a big welling arrow, but will it be enough? The answer is no. H goes in with a Stormbolt. Lei Ming popping off once again. Here's M, and he's like, hey, team, where are you? Lei Ming doesn't care. Disintegrate popping out, 6 low on health, and this could be a 5-man wipe. It should be a 5-man wipe. eStar gets multiple kills.
That is Xingzi at his finest. Ladies and gentlemen, Xingzi last year was just an anomaly in all forms that we saw in terms of this game. And we talked about it so much, the potential of this team, a lot of it rides on his shoulders, but man, when your team is on point, Lei Ming looks so strong.
And we are moving towards a late game where Lei Ming gets even stronger, especially here with Xingchen bringing in that damage. So we'll see how it will continue to occur. Murky continues to be in this dragon all by his lonesome, which I think is a bit of a downgrade. Being a dragon over being a Murloc is quite the punishment to take, but he's going to do it for his team. Pushing down the middle wall here, low on experience. There is almost a 4-level lead for eStar.
The implications. Oh, there it is. The Octo Grab going in, not able to get the kill as the combo not quite there. But it is Murky. Guess what? He's already back up at stage dive, coming into the back.
Big gust here. We're going to have a silence. Well played there. The next second or two available for Malfurion at the same time, but it's too late here. Dahaka being burned down. H jumping in here, looking for the Stormbolt. Will he connect it? He does hit it on GD in the back right. Sound barrier pop just to survive. 4-0. They need to retreat away because you are correct. Murky is here to play again.
And flying up to the top, never missing a beat on Soak as we see Murky just doing whatever he wants. They're just like, I'm taking out my frustrations. Die, Murky. But Murky, 7 seconds, 5 seconds, 4 seconds. He'll be back up momentarily. But 3-level lead, eStar. What in the world is happening, Zero?
And I'm sure that's what Zero is saying to themselves here. This is a game where you're playing against a Murky who is known for not having a late game composition, and you are losing heavily. It really comes down to Lei Ming. The control has been wonderful in the bottom lane. Zero has been hyper aggressive, and one of the best ways to punish a hyper aggressive team is to get a kill and then reset, reset, reset. And that continues to occur. Zero just needs to get a handle on this game. They're in a decent spot. They have their keeps available. They're close to level 16, so they will be on close even footing. They just need to stop getting caught out.
The getting caught out thing is the most difficult, and you know, we talk about so many opportunities. The power slide, this could be an opportunity, but we will see. That is Muradin, one of the hardest heroes to kill in this game, as they're forced to retreat, and Muradin walks away at half health, and he will heal up with that second wind that he has as a trait as well, as if nothing ever happened.
Yep, especially with that stone form being available at level 16. team. Mergen's going to have a hard time falling unless Graving sitting on top of him, which can be very difficult. That sets up the Storm Bolt. This is a Malfurion route, so GD's going to have to play lights out. We're going to have Murky on the back right. Savage looking for an auto-grab combo, and anyone he can hit, sadly, will not be able to do so. Does drop the pufferfish, and it's just more of a deterrent to keep his opponents off of him. There's the auto-grab, though. They're looking for ETC, and they focus him down. Instant pickup. Savage being an absolute savage with Murky.
I'm just going to say this, Trixler, that I love what I see out of eStar. The combo right before that, the Storm Bolt just missed, but you can see they are on the same page as Li Ming is following up, following the lead of his front line. And Murky, in that instance, was the front line. This team is on point, and they are not done as Gravane goes down.
eStar keeping up with the pressure. Murky actually ran to the middle keep to die on purpose so he could run to the top lane and grab the shrine so eStar can maybe grab the dragon, but they're actually looking for kills here. Lucio has been rooted. He is being focused down now. Maybe they're getting a bit too high. If big stage dive comes in, Xingchen will be able to blink away, but we have a Falstad murdered in the back line. Star W is going to be trying to retreat for now, but the dragon, grabbed by the Murloc himself, will be able to start pushing down the middle lane.
Yeah, and you know, this is one of those moments where generally you lose a couple of members, you grab a Dragonite, and then you're like, well, I can't do anything with this because once I get removed from this Dragonite, I die. So you basically just hold it, kill time, and wait for your team to come back up, but death timer is very long. This is Murky. Doesn't really matter. He can't really do much with it, but at the same time, they're committing a lot to this Dragonite, and the rest of the team will have to soak in the meantime. Is 20 here for eStar.
One of those heroes that does not fear death, for they are Murloc. Laming is on the bottom left side just waiting for her teammates to respawn. Falstad will be here in 10 seconds. Malfurion will be here up in the 15 seconds to continue their assault on their opponent's keeps. Sylvanas just gets eliminated, though, and I look over to J-House face, and he is absolutely disgusted with that movement of Sylvanas.
It's like, if you've ever watched like one of those National Geographic shows, it's like the poor little, you know, doe or whatever it is, they walk up to the water and then the alligator just comes out unsuspecting, and you're like, well, there they go. That's what just happened there.
Yeah. Sylvanas is looking for a little bit of a good time and just gets picked off immediately here. We're going to have Savage on the left, and now remember, he is a big kahuna tuna now. His health bar has increased dramatically. Now, do remember when he dies, he is dead much longer than before, not the 8-second timer normally, but the big health here makes him become much more of a threat, especially with auto grab being one of the abilities available for him.
It just seems like whatever eStar wants to do, I mean, they kind of, you know, harm themselves on that last one, get a little bit too over-aggressive, but outside of that, so far, outside of the first few moments of the game, they played absolutely flawless. They're taking down a keep here. They have 20-tier advantage, and at any moment, this team can target a hero, take them out, and just get those resets that we've seen so far in every team fight. It is 18 kills to 5, Trixter.
Look at how hard it is to kill Murky. We had 3 members working on him. He only fell down to half health. He has decent regen already. He has heal on his own bubble at 13, and he has a Malfurion keep topped off. It is very difficult to deal with this aggression that can come his way.
It's just like, you made that comment. It's so hard to kill Murky and take him down, and I'm like, that's an actual comment. That's an actual thing right now. I love it. I love it, man.
Well, 21 to 18, Zero just holding on for dear life right now. We're gonna have the Murky focus down. Just kidding, there's the bubble. He did lose his egg, but he can turn around. There's the auto grab. eStar getting 2 kills there, and resets coming in. Xingchen will look for another one. 3 resets, and now they can move towards 4.
Yeah, that's game over, and I want to just go ahead and go back to the point is they committed so many resources to kill Murky there. To kill Murky. That was the thing, is that can we get the takedown here? They don't. They pay for it. ETC gets taken down, and to follow up that, 3 other members go down, and next to follow is the core as SW actually.
Can they get the core here? They need to put
they
it down.
should.
It's getting low with 20 seconds. Zero's M is trying to hold here. He's looking towards Li Ming, but Falstad should be the main target. Oh, Xingchen actually does fall. However, Murky should be able to survive here. The drag does connect. 9 seconds for anyone to pop up. And eStar will take the first game in this best-of-5 series, opening it up with a fish.
I just, beware your Hero League games for the next week as eStar has just come out and said, hey guys, guess what's actually really good? Murky. And so far, that game, it just seems like you can kind of debate the Murky pick, things like that. But I think what you look at is the skill level, the coordination that we saw at eStar. It goes well beyond that. Murky, I think, definitely complicated things. But the play on the front line of Muradin, followed up by Xingxi, the mighty Gus coming in from Falstad into that Twilight Dream. From that moment on, it was just like, all right, this game is ours. We're going to do whatever we want. eStar, imagine if they just did this in Game 3 against MVP Black.
Just saying, they could have maybe taken it out. Yeah, the confidence level is definitely spiked to the roof there with eStar in their play overall. And yeah, welcome to the HGC where we ruin your Hero League. I mean, at first it was Dignitas at Western Clash with Stitches and Tyrande, and now you get Murky, so you're welcome. But yeah, starting the best of 5 series, game number 1, gotta love it coming out. Now suddenly you gotta get ready for game number 2. But you gotta be in a weird spot if you're 0. Do you just feel tilted? You're just like, okay, we're on a national stage, and we just got bodied by Murky.
You are being witnessed by many people, and right now, I think it's one of those games you're like, all right, we were not prepared for it. Just kind of put it aside. You can continue to do what you do. Dragonshire is a very unique battleground, so it's something very different. But Tiger, as we talked about, just made so many plays on Falstad. The over-aggressive one might have been a little bit much, but he was a big reason for their success.
Yeah, I mean, sure, Tiger, maybe the MVP, but there is another hero that should have maybe gotten the MVP, and I'm just going to talk over it constantly. This is my one moment to finally shine.
Does that hero name start with M as well?
It starts with an M and ends with Urki. Yeah, it really does.
Hold on, let me think about it.
You got this, J-How. You're a smart lad.
Ooh, is it me?
This guy, fire him. He's done. Kick him out. Yeah, Tiger played well.
Muradin.
Wonderful money.
That's close, right?
I'm over you, man. We're done. Bring back Hilarious. I'm so excited to finally see different hero variety. It's cool to see that niche pick that really comes in. Now, obviously, you can't run it on every single battleground. That was a one calculated strategy that worked out, but going into game 2, there's got to be some adjustments, obviously. I don't think you go with a Murky ban right away. I just make sure that you are set up, and if you do face off against any type of competition that comes your way, I think you actually get rid of Li Ming to get rid of that strategy, because Li Ming really made that work out for the team.
He did in Xingxi. As we see, the final kill count there was 23-7. And not a single fort went down, despite, some of that early